This is Task Force N Radio, and I'm its host, John Krotek, advocate for humankind, education, and commerce. We are on a mission to create human healing on a massive global scale and to tell the stories of people who have dedicated their lives to making our planet a better place to live. Here you go. Our guest for today's episode of Task Force Zen Radio has probably one of the prettiest names on the planet, Munira Zahabi. Has a ring to it. It's like music. And she is also known as, some of you may know her, many of you maybe don't know her, but she goes by the Niche Navigator. And what she does is pretty extraordinary. She helps niche seekers, which are most of us, find their niches. Then she helps them to embark on the niches to riches, the voyage that allows her clients to implement their niche and thrive on so many different levels. Munira is a podcaster like me and a master interviewer on her show, Munira's Musings, who I was honored and humbled to be on a few weeks back. We had a great conversation. She interviews individuals who have found their niche. I'm still looking for mine, but she's been helping me. I watch everything she does and are adding value to others to enhance other people's lives. Munira's dreams evolved beyond simply being successful in creating and leaving a legacy that feeds the soul. She has impacted many lives over the years along the unfamiliar seas she has embarked upon. And that's so true. None of us really knows the future, and we're working together to help each other find it. I love that. Munira is definitely ahead of the ball game. Good morning, Munira. I'm blessed to have you here.
Thank you, John. Thank you for having me on your show. It's really amazing. What you do
thank you.
Is really amazing.
Well, I think we're both in the same boat. You know, I'm learning so much and from people like yourselves that inspire those of us out here that want to make a difference too. So that drive that you have had to have come from somewhere. Tell us a little bit about the Zahabi household and what were your formative years and what was going on in your mind as you were coming of age?
You know, there's a story in my family about Sakina, who is my grandfather's mother. She had married twice and she just, lost both husbands and she took to the seas. And she would travel from India to Africa. Not much is known about her, so we are always constantly looking for facts about who would know her, but all those people who know her have passed. So one day we'll meet her and talk to her about, but the entrepreneurial spirit, I think, has lighted that fire under me. I am originally born and raised in Kenya, so we had 3 generations born in East Africa.
What's really cool about that, Munira, is that you hit upon something right off the bat, the roots, and to be proud of your roots. That's what you're saying to us right now. Be proud of that.
That's the heritage. My father always says that it's the roots that hold the trunk up, right? And that's my grandmother, maybe my great-grandmother maybe have been that root. But I also came to know a lot of things from my mother. I lost my mother at a very young age, so I had to grow up very fast. I didn't realize when I turned around in life, my youth, my teenage years, my youth, as in, when you're growing up and being mischievous at the age of 20, 21, all that was gone because by the time I was 24, I had 4 kids. I was married at 15. I was married, and I had 4 kids. When my mom died and my stepmom came into the picture and I was married off, that part was taken off. Even though I was getting a scholarship to go to University of Cambridge in UK to study law, my father married me off to somebody who was 18 years older than me.
Okay. It's cultural?
It's not cultural. It's what my stepmother had planned.
Yeah.
At that time, we were in the 80s, early 80s, and that didn't happen a lot. I mean, it's not something that happens in Africa. People are learned. I came from Kenya. I was married into Tanzania. Kenya was a modern city. Tanzania wasn't as much of a modern city. And, so for me, it was a culture shock from just going to the neighboring country. But I kept myself alive, there were hardly any libraries to go to or anything, but I would just soak up on books and learn. And you keep that drive because there was something in me that didn't want that flame to die out. I got very close to my grandmother, my maternal grandmother, who lived in the same city. And I saw how she had suffered through her years because she had given birth. Her husband died just before she gave birth to her last daughter. And she had struggled through life that way. And she never once said anything bad about her journey, or she never cursed herself, or she didn't get angry. And she always had faith in God.
God keeps the faith. God keeps your faith in God. And it has a certain resonance to it that is so true, especially when we are on these journeys of our lives. And I know anger all too well. And if I didn't have a belief in something greater than me, then it would have been more difficult. Let's just say that.
I have been blessed, but many times, we never see that. We never see the silver lining. I think the youth of people keeps us blinded because we are so materialistic. And we look at other people's accolades and think, how come I'm not there? But as you age in life and you become a little bit wiser, I think that's the word.
I get it, yeah.
Then you realize that, materialistic thing doesn't count. You are where you are in life because of the choices you made.
You just gave me goosebumps. That it's so true, and it does. Why does it take me 60 years to figure this out? And some people, it seems like they get it like right away, this passion or their purpose in life. I guess so. We're all on the different journey, and I guess it really doesn't matter because we're here now.
Yesterday, I met somebody and he said, oh, it's shaped you. Everything that's you've gone through has shaped you. And I sat there thinking last night for a while, and I thought, really, yes, it has. Because if I hadn't got married, if I hadn't lost my mother, I wouldn't have seen what a stepmother has. And her being in my life has allowed me to be a better stepmother to my stepson. It shaped me to be the sophisticated person that I am today, to stand my ground and said, no, I'm not doing this just because you want me to. But it took a long time to get to this point. God sent me all these messages, but we never know how to see the messages or take the hints.
It's so true, Munira. Sometimes when we're in these places that might not feel good, or we're uneasy, we don't really understand it. We've all got them, ladies and gentlemen, we do. We don't really see what you've mentioned, the forest of the trees, the silver lining. And if you just can hang in there and learn and take it, maybe so cliche, one day at a time, the lessons are there for all of us. And that guy you talked to yesterday is true. All of your parts are the sum of everything that you've experienced. And through those experiences, you become the niche navigator who you are today. Not only helping others, but helping yourself in the process. And I think that's a beautiful process. My heart goes out, so I love it. I resonate with that. So how did you get to the United States? How did that happen from Africa to here?
There was a form that came out in the newspaper that I never knew about because I never bought the newspaper. But I did find out about it because I worked in a school as a teacher, and our administrator was filling out all those forms, and it had a particular requirement of how things had to be typed out. Remember typewriters at that time?
Yeah,
manual. Yes. So I had a clitter one because I used to write back home, back then. I used to prepare my school lessons and everything. And so she said, I went in there and she goes, I'm filling out this DV1 form. And it was a program that started out with Bill Clinton, where he allowed people from third world countries to come here. But this one city in California was looking for people to come and just populate that city. And he went I mean, it's like everybody knew how difficult my life was because I had sisters-in-law from hell. And, my husband was older and I had 4 kids and, things were not aligning the way they should be after so many years of marriage. And so he said he went to some other lady's place to get all the publications that she had collected. And he sat in his store and he started reading. Now, this is without my knowledge. And he found the phone number and the address of these people who had put in this little ad that they want people in Bakersfield, California. And he came to my house and he goes, call these people. I was like, what? And he told me the story. And I was like, truly, God wants me to go. My husband was like, I'm not going to America. Said, if you don't want to go, it's fine. I gave up my chance to go to UK to study law. This is my chance to take my kids and go. So I'm going to go. This is happening. Oh my God, it was the worst 6 months of my life. And worst because it was so worrisome. My father was sick. He passed away, and my aunt told me that if I didn't go to America, she would give me all her inheritance.
That's kind of attractive. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And I said, no, I'm going to America. You guys married me off the first time. No, this is happening. I'm not going to sit here and just waste my time. And, I came. It was June 28th of 1995.
24 years ago.
Yes.
Yeah, big day. So you still remember. So you flew straight to California? You went...
Oh, yeah. So this is so much fun. So go from Dar es Salaam to London. We had about an 8-hour stop. From there, we came to California, Los Angeles, did the paperwork. We missed our little plane that we were supposed to take to Bakersfield. I mean, communication is a big thing. If you're going to have people come over, give them enough information. We didn't know there was a bus that went from LA to Bakersfield. We didn't know that. So we had to take a flight because we had to get to Bakersfield. We lost some of the luggage was lost, and it was just amazing. But we got to Bakersfield, and here I am.
Then the other journey began. So that's quite a story, and what I'm getting out of what you're telling is that every single step, no matter if it's difficult or smooth, they all lead us to these places. And the thing about you, Munira, that I get is that your mind's made up. You know who you are, and it took you a while to get there, and you know what you want, and you went after it to the United States. And that's brave, because I think you make me feel about my grandmother and my grandfather who did the same thing. They had courage. They got on a boat many years before you came here, but they got on a boat. They had this vision, this dream to make it to America, and they did. So you're like in another original American pioneer to come here the way you did, and kudos to you, and I'm glad you're here. So, and
thank you. This country has just opened up so many doors, things that I never could have done back home. I feel so liberated coming here. This is a country where I see so many opportunities. This country has opened its arms to immigrants. Everybody that came here is an immigrant, regardless, first generation, second generation, third generation. I don't care. Even the president himself is like a third generation immigrant. However, what I want to say to you is that people who are born here are so blindsided with the materialistic and stuff that they take for granted. They don't see the opportunities in this world, in this country. When you live in a third world country, when you have come from a place where there is less abundance and more scarcity, you see this place as a gold mine. And people don't realize what they're sitting on when they are living in this country. It's so amazing.
Munira, that is such an amazing point that you just said, because, I used to lead guided trips to South America. And what I found out in that journey was most Americans think that the rest of the world lives like we do here in the States. And it was always a culture shock. You had a culture shock coming here from Tanzania, but for me to take those Americans to like Bolivia, it was a culture shock for them. And they were like, holy cow. And when they would get back to the United States, something you just pointed out, they looked at the lifestyle so much, they looked at it differently. And we do take a lot for granted. I'm guilty of that sometimes too, because you can be mesmerized by opulence, and you can have it now, and you can order it now, and it can come to your doorstep, and 9 to 5, and everything's beautiful, and fast cars and big houses. They're all great things, but enjoy the moment you have now. That, what's truly important, and which is one of the biggest reasons all of these formative things that you've done has brought you to become a guide for others, if you will, as the niche navigator. Tell us a little bit about that. Tell us how you fell into that role of helping others find their places in their lives.
In the time that has brought me to this job, and over the years, I had trained so many people and had so many people under me, 30 people at any given time. I had built teams, and I had helped people find their own niches without knowing this was something I could do as a business. I realized that I needed to find some coach, mentor to help me make this plan happen. And I found John Maxwell. I loved his teaching, although he talks about leadership, but he has so many points that you can put and plug elsewhere in life. And as I started talking to other people, I realized that they weren't sure of what they wanted to do. They had a toolbox, but none of them knew how to implement or create their own creation, if you will. It was like, give yourself a Lego, and then you have to follow what everybody else is doing, because Lego comes with a map, right? Make this spaceship, and this is how it's going to be. Why can't you just go out and break the rules and make something else? And that's what I help people. You have the Lego box. You have the toolbox. Go make your own creation. Why do you have to follow what everybody else is doing?
That's a great question. And, we read all of these statistics and all these studies, and, we wonder why there's so much anger and resentment out there at times. And I think you just touched upon something. I think it's because the purpose may not be there for that particular individual. And you don't have to be like everybody else. And I feel like if you don't really know your purpose or your mission in life, I feel that you stay in this perpetual state of uneasiness and anger, maybe, and resentment. And that's why you've been placed here, because I'm convinced that God, we talk about God, right? But I'm convinced that God places human beings here for specific purposes because of their skills. And you obviously, Munira, you've got a life that has taught you things that are going to help you help others. And, that being said, what are 3 things people can do in their lives right now where they can figure some of this out?
70% of the people in the world are not happy where they are in life. So how do we fix that? So the first thing they have to do is evaluate not what everybody else wants, but what you want to do. So the first question to ask is, are you happy with what you are doing right now?
The basic question. If you're unhappy, why?
And this is not something you think about, or it should not take you more than 3 seconds to answer a yes or no question. That's the bottom line. Because we're not asking you to quit your job and do something else. We're asking you to evaluate and take an honest look at what you do. If you enjoy it, go for it. Go do it some more. But if you don't, then figure out what it is that you want to do. That's step 2. And if you're going to do that, can you do that every single day? That's the third question. And if you can answer these questions, and then you can start evaluating where you want to go from there.
I love that. And you know what? What's really cool about that, Munira, is that it's simple. Are you happy? Why aren't you happy? What do you desire to do? And would you be happy doing that every day? I mean, again, I think I've had goosebumps like 3 times already, but it's so simple It's ridiculous that people don't do that.
They don't. You know why they don't do that? It's because they're fearful.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years? What do you hope to do with the Niche Navigator? What would you like to see happen?
As I impact more people in life and change their way of thinking, I'm hoping that I have touched at least 5,000 people in 5 years. As a country, we are in so much debt because of student loans. And the federal government is not ready to forgive any of it. But those people who have paid into or asked for the loans have no clue of what they are doing. So Niche Navigator, I think, stemmed from there where, you need to have a focus. Stop spending your money where just because. We think of adults. Adult in this country is 18 years old. Adults in any other country is 35 plus.
That's an interesting point. And you know what? That's probably more realistic than here.
But here in this country, at 18, the kids don't know how to balance a checkbook. If we teach our students to be cognizant of money, to figure out what their niche is, what is it that you want, and follow these 3 steps, they may not be adults, but they have some kind of a clue. And why don't we just take them through that path? So I want to see this niche program implemented in some of the schools, at least high schools.
Gosh, imagine that, because, I went to school for restaurant and hotel management, and I did that for 3 years. And then after 3 years, it's not what I went on to do. And imagine if I had known when I went away to school, I was 18, like we know. And imagine if if a Niche Navigator program had been in effect, how much money I could have saved and how much more fulfilled I could have been. And how much better of an employee I would have been to somebody, because it's something I really wanted to do. That's a fantastic idea, really.
So that's where I want to be in 5 years. I don't want people to just take the course to take the course. I want them to see the course as becoming aware of how this could possibly change their lives.
Munira, how can people get more information about your course, the Niche Navigator, and also how can they find out about Munira's musings? How can they tell us how we get to you?
So I am very reachable. There's only one Munira Zahabi in the world.
That's true.
As far as I know. So far, I check periodically. So there's only one. And so I can be found on LinkedIn, on Facebook. Munira's Musings is my show where I bring in people with niches to talk about what their entrepreneurial journey was, because everybody has to go through that journey.
That's pretty cool. And I applaud you for your candor and your honesty and your journey, because that's what makes you truly unique and able to do the things that you love to do. It's nice to know that there's others like you out there who see the benefit of being focused and helping others, which is really what it's all about.
It is. And, I am willing to sit down and work, have a 30-minute strategy session with anybody. It's a free strategy session. And I help them at least find that path, because that's the most important thing. Share your experience, because there's somebody out there who needs to listen to it.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more, 200%, 1,000%. Do you have a mantra, like a personal Munira mantra that you live by every day? Is there something that you believe in every day?
I believe fear is always going to be there. It's a cloud that's going to lurk around you. The only way to get rid of it is to become clear. So the mantra is, you will get rid of the fear if you become clear.
I love that. The goosebumps number 5, ladies and gentlemen, and when you feel those, it's the spirit, the spirit of Munira is coming through the airwaves, and I've never heard it said like that. And it's true.
All the trials and tribulations that I have gone through have brought me here. It's easy for me to say this, but the minute you let fear take over, you're done. You're done. So you have to harness that fear and say, you know what, fear, I'm going to put you in a bag right now. Just this is for later. It's like having a child and say, okay, later. We'll talk about this later. Let me just handle the situation right now. And it comes with experience. So I know people who are listening are going to say, it's easy for you to say. No, it wasn't. But you had to handle each one.
Many times the things that we were taught weren't necessarily the truth. And I get a strong inclination that you come from a place of divine truth. And it's not cliche, ladies and gentlemen, it's real, because that's what lights are all about, human lights. And that's what you are. And I really, and I don't just blow smoke. I am humbled and honored that, that we found each other. And I know that we're going to have a lifelong relationship in some aspect or another. And that makes me happy today. So yeah, you made me think of something. Yeah, laugh at fear in the face and you'll become the greatest comedian ever, and, so it just, all of these things that we used to just think were just idioms, they mean something, and you mean something, and the Niche Navigator means something. And I have all the confidence in the world that you're going to continue on this path, and it's going to be a wonderful life. And for those that come across your path, it's going to be wonderful. So is there anything else that you would like to say for this particular conversation that maybe you haven't said, but you want people to know? Each person out there is unique. Each person out there is special. And I believe that you have a purpose in your life. You have been sent here by divine, whoever you believe has sent you here for some kind of purpose. You're not just here to live a life. You're here to make an impact. So let's find that purpose and create that impact. Because you know what? If one person can make an impact and cause a ripple, think about all those people who can create a wave. That's number one. Number two is we need this. In this time of uncertainty in our life, we are, there's so many talks about wars and impeachment and all of those things that are happening in our country, in the world today. Then how about we all join hands and create a positive impact? Because it starts with you. You become happy, you can emanate this happiness to everybody else. And you know what? Just keep smiling, because keeps people wondering what you're up to. I like that. Well, I'm going to be smiling all day now. So, well, thank you, Munira, for being here on Task Force Zen Radio. You are the ultimate, what I would say, impact multiplier. And a lot of the words that you said today resonate, and I just appreciate you for it, and so honored to have you on the show. So, thank you for having me. God bless you, and I know I'll be seeing you, and I'll be smiling all day, and I'll be thinking about you. So, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for listening to this episode of Task Force Zen Radio. Through education, we will raise global awareness, create more balance, perpetuate human healing, and diminish suffering in our world, because humankind matters.